So I rushed down to the scene, and it was a crowd of people and I couldn't get through. So I pretty much had to stop my truck in the middle of the street, and I just see a crowd of people, and from the phone call I know that my son had got struck by a truck. And at that moment I just felt as though I needed to get to my child, to lay my eyes on him, hold him in my arms, and to comfort him. As I was getting out of the truck, I could hear an officer yell, "Hey, hey, hey, you can't park there. You're blocking traffic." And I hear him from the back of me as I'm walking towards the crowd, trying to get to my child. And, you know, he's just yelling behind me, just, you know, demanding for me to move my vehicle. At that point, I was screaming, just asking the people to move so I can get through the crowd. And I just dropped to the ground and started praying for my son. And I just asked God, say, "Lord God, not today. Not today. Just help my child. I just need to get to him." At that moment of me screaming and yelling, asking people to move so I can get to my child, as I'm on the ground, I can look through the crowd of people's legs, and I see my son lay on the ground with like sheets of towels over his face and syringes sticking out of his chest. And I just yelled and screamed and prayed louder and harder, just asking God to help my child, and just begging people to move so I can get close enough to my child just to hold him in my arms and comfort him and talk to him. Meanwhile, this officer still standing behind me, and he just shouts out, "Hey, get your fat black ass up and go to the vehicle before I have it towed." And I hear him. I'm just like, just trying to get to my baby, trying to get to my child, just so I can comfort him. I just couldn't believe that what all was going on, and just from my reaction of me screaming, yelling, and praying, and being frantic, yelling, crying, screaming, that the officer would just have no regard for what was going on at that moment, because it was evident at that point that I was the mom of that child that was on the ground. And he just showed no empathy, compassion, common courtesy, sympathy, nothing. At that moment, I just felt as if he was unhuman, or just immune to what was going on around him in that moment, because he showed just, again, no sympathy, empathy, compassion, emotion. He was just so detached, as if he wasn't human. And I just don't know. But by then they started putting him on a gurney to put him in the ambulance to take him to the hospital. And at some point I got up. My neighbor came over and helped me. And he was so upset with me that he wouldn't even allow for me to ride behind the ambulance. He demanded that I turn my truck around and go the other way, or nor that any of the other officers on the scene that night offered me a ride to the hospital. That was easily over a 30-minute ride from Anne Arundel County to Baltimore City. when I tell y'all, Jesus Christ himself drove me to the hospital that night, all I remember is I couldn't see, it was so foggy, but I just constantly hear horns beeping at me. It was so emotional, and I know that if it had not been for God, I wouldn't have made it that night.
Thank you for sharing your story. So, in all that you're saying, part of what I thought I heard you say was that that officer, when you were trying to get to
My baby.
your baby, and you were on your knees, trying to get through the crowd on your knees, that you heard a voice behind you say, "Get your black ass."
No, he said, "Get my fat black ass up and go to my vehicle before he ever told."
Oh my God.
That's what he said to me. And like, you know, it's just so heart-wrenching because at that moment he knew, it was evident that I was the mom of that child that was laying on the ground, but he showed no regard, no empathy, sympathy, compassion, not even common courtesy. It was as if he was just unhuman. That it was more important to him that my vehicle was blocking the traffic versus my son was laying on the ground lifeless with sheets and towels over his face and syringes sticking out of his chest. I made the complaint to, at the time, Lieutenant Thomas, who was the lieutenant of Northern District, with the district that it was operating out of that night. And he told me that he could reassure me that there has been some new changes implemented within the entire Anne Arundel County Police Department as far as in coaching the officers to how to deal with tragic and like fatal homicides. So he told me that it was a new protocol implemented, but he couldn't give me the officer's name.
So your experience was that they did acknowledge a complaint was made,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't give you information about it.
Yes.
And this was the Anne Arundel County Police Department.
Yes.
And can you tell us the name of, I know you may have said it already, but you give us the name of your son?
Danshaun Wells.
How did, as we get ready to bring this to a close, and I thank you because I know this is emotional, and my heart goes out to you because no parent should have to go through this. But how, you had mentioned how this made you feel. You said you can remember his voice
Yes.
or
I had sour dreams about his face. I could remember when I closed my eyes, I picture his face. He's a Caucasian, who say about between like 5'1", maybe 5'4", like reddish hair, and has a skull on his face.
Did they talk about how long he had been on the force? What excuse did they give you for his behavior?
They told me that they apologized and that a lot of the officers that was there were brand new, that they were cadets and they hadn't been properly trained. That's what they told me. Well, actually not they. That's what Lieutenant Thomas told me. Lieutenant Steve Thomas.
Okay. All right then, and I know that there are other things that are going on, but we won't get into those because those are legal things and those are still things yet that you're working out. But why do you feel, I mean, I know that we want people to know your journey in this. Was there any media attention at the time that happened? Does any, other than you telling someone, did the public know what you had experienced at the hands of these officers?
No, only the police department. I myself have reached out to several news stations. I've been interviewed by the Gazette twice, and the Baltimore Sun had done an article. But as far as in like media, no.
What about the statement that the officer made? Have you been interviewed about the general things around your baby's death, or has anyone been specific about the statement that was made to you about the officer?
No.
Did you share with media this statement that was made about the officer?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay. All right then. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.